The final showdown, the moment of triumph, the ending of a game. Final bosses are supposed to be the culmination of everything that preceded them, and almost always serving as a way of tying the experience of a game together at the end. A final boss may not always be something grand, but at the very least it should embody the spirit of the game. In recent years, the final showdown in Sonic games have been rather disappointing. Something I think we need to establish right away is that the final bosses of Sonic don't tend to be the most complex on a gameplay level, but this doesn't mean they are bad. With Sonic, a lot of the hype around a final boss comes from the setup, visuals, story relevance. When done right, it means the fight itself can get away with being rather basic, but when they are lacking, the cracks can begin to show. Take Sonic 1 for example. The final boss there is about as basic as you could get.
The doctor thinks you're basic.
There are 4 pistons that can instantly kill Sonic via crushing, one of which will hold Eggman and must be hit to deal damage, and in between stomps, 4 lasers slowly fire at you. Even though this was the first final boss, it still is rather disappointing. The battle doesn't include any form of building momentum. In fact, you'll barely have the space to generate any speed at all. It could be used as a castle boss in Mario and wouldn't feel out of place. Then, in Sonic 2, the final boss is effectively a 2-for-1, as Sonic must beat a metallic doppelganger and then a giant Eggman robot back to back with no rings at all. Whilst both fights amount to waiting and jumping, with the Eggman robot sometimes robbing the player thanks to inconsistent behaviour, what really elevates this battle is the context in which it takes place. Sonic hitchhiked into space and is completely on his own, with the world counting on him to stop the Death Egg. The Metal Sonic battle has you combat an opponent with similar skills to your own, and was also very likely the first time players saw a Sonic robot in the 90s, adding to the spectacle. Then, right after, Eggman takes the fight directly to you in a gigantic machine with intense music playing whilst you look into space. If the player ran out of lives here, they would have to start the game from the beginning, so it really becomes as tense for the player as it was for Sonic himself. So there we have seen 2 examples in the earlier titles of Sonic final bosses. In the first, I thought it fell flat, and in the sequel, all of its parts added up to something memorable. The final bosses continued after the Sonic 2 style of finales for the most part. Where I believe things began to fall once more was with Sonic Colors. That's right, I am saying that Sonic Colors is really not that great. Now, in fairness, Colors did not slip up horrendously compared to the games that preceded it, but it's a legacy that followed plagues the franchise even to the current day. The battle versus the Nega Wisp armor boils down to homing attacking him 5 times and you win. Obviously, there's more to it than that, but at its core you are simply homing attacking as you have done throughout the whole game. Thematically, the fight holds up though, in some aspects at least. You have some imposing music playing at the start of the fight. The boss itself uses the wisps just like Sonic does, with an announcer. You can even see Eggman pull in more wisps to fuel his attacks. Also, after each hit dealt, some wisps join Sonic's side, which is very fitting for the adventure. Unfortunately, its theming has some holes. A minor one is that compared to the rest of the game, the environment in this final boss is incredibly bland, which is a sad note to end the game on. In addition, if you know what you're doing, the fight really is over in 5 hits. It's so short that the genuinely fantastic rendition of the Colors theme song barely has a chance to play before the fight is over. But overall, it is a passable final boss. As I mentioned before, the main reason Colors is here is because it kicked off the true downfall. Sonic Lost World features a rather lackluster final boss of its own, much like the game itself. Let's take a look and see what we're dealing with here. Okay, so we've got lava, that's pretty cool. Looks like we're in some kind of valley. This is a much more captivating setting compared to Colors already. What else do we have going on here? So we're running forward on a narrow path. He fires lasers from side to side that we jump over. Oh, he has grabby hands, that's new. And then we homing attack chain his side in order to hit his head. Okay, who am I kidding? This is basically the Nega Wisp armor from Colors all over again. Sonic is charging towards Eggman with some funky music, and the boss is using some of the exact same moves from the Colors battle. It has two new moves, being the green orb spam and the grabby hand, but overall it actually has less attacks than the Wisp Armor. The battle might actually last longer, but if it does, it's because of the amount of repeated animations that take up time in the fight. I mean, it even copies how the Nega Wisp Armor sped up its lasers when the boss is on its last legs. And this time, it goes down in 4 hits. People played all of Sonic Lost World, and the final challenge goes down faster than the Wrecking Ball fight from Sonic 1, concluding with the same firework display, no less.
Wow! How original!
Wouldn't it have been a bit more interesting if the final fight was, oh, I don't know, against the Deadly Six, as in all of them at once? At no point in the game are they challenged at the same time. Instead, it is just a boss rush where you fight them separately and they don't play any differently. Although, that would give the Deadly Six more screen time, which is something we could all do without. So maybe that is why they just reused the Wisp Armor. Guys, if you wanted to copy a boss, at least copy a good one. No, wait, I take it back. Stop! After using the same boss twice in a row, there is absolutely no way that they would use it again straight afterwards. Right? Well, the next attempt takes place in Sonic Forces, so we are already off to a low start. Anyone who reached the end had to suffer through the Sonic Forces experience, so the last fight against Infinite better be good. What? He was a reskinned Metal Sonic fight? How anticlimactic. Okay, so what does the real final boss have in store for us? We start with Phase 1, which is a reskin of the first boss fight. Wow, Sega really seem to love reusing mediocre bosses these days, huh? Moving on to Phase 2, we have something more original. You have multiple ways to damage the robot, which is a nice touch, but it doesn't have a very final boss feel to it at the moment. Ah, there we go, a Phase 3. You know, that thing looks a little familiar. You don't think they... Oh, this takes place in Null Space. Pretty similar to Sonic Colors' final fight, but this makes sense to be the location of the grand finale. Alright, so we have some jamming music going on here. I wonder what its attack...
Are you kidding me?
You're kidding me, right? This has to be a joke. Unfortunately, unlike Forces, this is not a joke. The final fight here is an even more blatant copy than Lost World dared offer up. Now the boss almost exclusively uses the side laser. Null Space, whilst looking better than Colors, is still basically the same environment. The boss itself is so shameless in how it resembles the Nega Wisp Armor, it's like the developers were openly admitting they copied the homework. In a way, the Wisps joining Sonic is mirrored by the Rookie and Classic also joining Sonic here, which yes, fits the theming, but it's not a strong point in its favour. This style of final boss evokes nothing in the player that plays off of anything they experienced up until that point, especially when the fight is lifted from a different game and pasted over and over again.
Did I ever tell you what the definition of insanity is? Insanity is doing the exact same fucking thing over and over again, expecting shit to change. That is crazy.
Where is the energy fitting of a Sonic game? Take a look at the Doomsday in Sonic 3 and Knuckles. Sonic chases Dr. Eggman into space whilst in his hyper form. The view in the distance is of Earth while you blaze across the stars, tearing through asteroids as you gain on Robotnik. Once you find him, he's hunkered up in a fortified vehicle, which may not be able to harm you, but you also cannot harm it. Sonic must lead the missiles into the head of Eggman's machine to damage it, and it takes more hits than all versions of the Nega Wisp armor fights. After that, the fight still rages on as Eggman jets off, clutching the Master Emerald. Despite the limited technology of the game, you can just tell Eggman is panicking at this point. Unable to stop Sonic, he tries to run away with his prize, throwing bombs behind him sporadically as Sonic bashes his final hope. All of it comes to a close when Sonic destroys the robot and claims the Master Emerald, descending down to Earth and saving Angel Island. Or we could see how Sonic Adventure 2 handles its last boss. The Space Colony arc is hurtling down towards the Earth, and the player has to take control of both Super Sonic and Super Shadow in the last-ditch attempt to save the world. You have an absolutely amazing track playing in the background whilst you're dodging the Final Hazards attempt to fight you off. All the while, the rest of the playable cast are cheering you on. As the fight goes on, the scenery becomes more red as you enter the atmosphere, with the time over meaning you failed and the arc crashes into the Earth. The fight ends with the Super Hedgehogs performing a collaborative chaos control, where one of them sacrifices their life as fulfillment of their old promise. Don't those two examples sound way more interesting and entertaining than all three versions of the Nega Wisp armor? They both gave the player a new and empowering gameplay style and required them to play in a different way from before in order to win the fight, all while sticking true to the theming of the respective games and tying its events up together in one memorable package. The Wisp fights just can't compare, especially the versions from Lost World and Forces. Some people may say that on a mechanical level, the examples I provided are not that great, and whilst I still think they beat the Nega Wisp armor, I can understand that point of view. But as I stated earlier, part of what makes a Sonic final boss is the context, the spectacle, the music, many parts working with the gameplay to make the experience as a whole excellent. The Wisp armor fights are very straightforward and don't ask much from the player, alongside taking place in effectively a void with nothing else from the game being present for the fight. They do not do a great job at tying the experience together. And before people say I only like supersonic battles in space, I point to Sonic Generations. The Time Eater is another boss I do not think was done well at all. On the surface you may think it is similar to Sonic 3 and SA2. You've got Supersonic, flying towards the enemy, and you have your friends talking to you. Except the Sonics here move at incredibly slow speeds. You are just waiting for telegraphed moments the game says you're allowed to hit the boss in, which is way closer to the Wisps than the other two. The comments from Sonic's friends are spoken far more often here, and they don't say interesting things about their feelings or unknown secrets, but rather warn of a homing shot 50 million times. Non-stop talking. The music is also rather slow and repetitive, droning on and sucking your excitement away with help from the slow pacing. Simply being supersonic in a void does not make a good fight. The power and speed they gave Sonic while still allowing the boss to defend itself in Sonic 3 and SA2 make them superior. We might as well take a look at Sonic Boom Rise of Lyric and see what it did for its final boss, seeing as it came out around the same time.
I know your weakness, Sonic. It's your friends.
You're wrong, Lyric. They're not my weakness. They're my strength.
You know what? Never mind. And there we have it. Those are the reasons why I believe that the quality of Sonic final bosses has gone down in recent years. In fact, the quality of Sonic bosses in general has gone down, if I'm being honest, but I really wanted to focus specifically on final bosses for this video, as they're supposed to be the greatest fight in the game. Thank you for watching till the end of this video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to recommend it to anyone interested in the subject, and let me know what you think in the comments below. Have a great day, and see you next time.